What's up? Cutting a bit of wood, pallets, free firewood. I've almost run out of logs and Trish ain't got no firewood at all, so I'm cutting stuff up for her. What I do is I cut those big pallets up. They're plywood actually, but you know, I get them for nothing, and free firewood, so why not? Don't know if it's government approved. Don't know if it's government approved or not, but it looks pretty dry to me. And the glue in it, of course, burns really well. Yeah, so what I do is I cut that up into bits. I cut that up with a chainsaw, and then the bit I put on the saw bench and cut them up into suitable sizes, and then I chop them up, bit of kindling, the other type of pallets, lovely big blocks of wood on there, burn nice when they're dry, and that's what it's like around here. It's bloody cold today again. I say bloody cold, it's 40 degrees. I noticed when I went out on my bike the other day that I was really cold, and probably because I didn't have enough clothes on, but also I realised this morning when I couldn't get out of bed that the aspirin I take every day thins my blood, doesn't it? So obviously I'm going to get colder. Ridiculous, isn't it? But you know, you've got to measure being cold as against the well-being you get for being on your bike. I still haven't had the new tyres put on the bike, on the Himalayan, by the way. Now rebooked for Friday. I hope I feel alright with them, because I did after my bike ride day before yesterday I had to spend most of the day in bed. Didn't feel up to anything. Didn't feel up to much this morning, but forced myself, and of course once I get going I'm alright. I can't say I'm particularly cold at the moment, although it is cold out, but you know, chopping a bit of firewood keeps you going. And that's what I'm up to today, and I've spoken on this for 3 minutes and 35 seconds at the moment, and can't get monetized for that, can you? So I'll have to think of something else to say. Mia's she's all right. She stinks to high heaven. Keep deodorizing her, but she's eating and she's still with us, although she doesn't get out of bed much either. Yeah, so I mean, you don't really want to watch me sawing up a pallet, do you? Where's the interest in that? What can I tell you? Oh, I know, I was going to tell you a story I thought about when I was lying in bed. When I was on the old, when I was a young cabin boy, I was on the Queen Elizabeth, the first Queen Elizabeth ship, Cunard. Honestly, it's like being in the Navy, Royal Navy. You had to wear a uniform and all that crap. And hang on, there's a train going. Yeah, so, and we were going from Southampton to New York. I stayed on it for a few trips, that ship, until I got the sack. Well, they call it, I call it a sack. It's if you're an ex-merchant navy, you know what. Got a DR. It's called a DR. It means declined to report on your seaman's book. I was only 16. I was so stubborn in those days. What happened was, because we're going to New York, and I was a young bloke, I had this I don't know what this has got to do with. Oh yeah, there is a part of the New York why I said that. But let's just say it was the time of the Beatles, 63, 64, around about there, and I had a beautiful Beatles haircut. I had hair in those days, lustrous black hair, and I had this beautiful Beatles haircut, which apparently didn't go with the seaman's cap, the Royal Navy type cap we had to wear, because I was on the bridge one day. I don't know what I was doing. Probably, I think I was just practicing for my steering ticket, and this obnoxious, I don't know what he was, no, he probably wasn't the first officer, second officer or something, second mate. He says, you better get your hair cut. I thought, what? Yeah, he said, you better get your hair cut. You can't be looking like that. I mean, I thought I looked fantastic. So did the girls who I met. I said, I'm not getting a haircut. I didn't have much respect for the officers like one supposedly supposed to. I did. There was a Commodore on that ship. Can't remember his name. I mean, the Commodore of the whole Cunard line. He used to sail on the Queen Elizabeth at times. I liked him. He was a nice bloke, real gentleman. One day he got this speck of paint on his uniform, and I was summoned to his cabin. He said, could you clean that for me, young fellow? And I couldn't see this paint speck. I just couldn't see it. He said, there's a white speck of paint there. I had 20/20 vision without glasses. Anyway, I couldn't see it, but I pretended I could in the end, and then I, got a bit of white spirit or something and pretended to clean it off, and he said, oh, that's fine, thank you. Anyway, he was a nice bloke. Where was I? Oh yeah, oh yeah, I'd said, no, I'm not getting a haircut, and it got into an altercation with this officer. I mean, I'm only 16, a cabin boy getting into an altercation with an officer. And have a look at my bikes. I said, no, I'm not getting a haircut. I don't think I swore, but I used to get really, God, I had an inferiority complex in those days. And I used to get really riled up, so I may have sworn at him. But anyway, the bosun was called. The bosun was called up to the bridge, and I got sent. I can't remember exactly. I got sent away off duty, and the bosun came down to my cabin later. He said, "Are you going to get your hair cut or not?" I said, "I'm not," or words to that effect. And then he accused me. He said, "Okay, this is mutiny. You can get locked up. We can put you in the chain locker." They didn't, but I didn't get my hair cut. I can't remember what else happened. But I wasn't allowed on the bridge anymore, and I wasn't allowed on the bridge anymore. Oh yeah, I wasn't allowed to work anymore. I had to stay in my cabin. They could have locked me up apparently, but it wasn't really mutiny, because you have to have several of you to have a mutiny, and I was all on my own. I think it was just being silly saying that. All right, the tyre pressures there, look. Yeah, so at the end of the journey, in my book, like a seaman's passport. Hate saying seaman's, don't know why. Yeah, it was my seaman book. Declined to report. So I'd have a hell of a job getting any decent ships after that. I couldn't get a ship for ages because I was on the shipping federation called the Pool, and they used to fix you up with your jobs. So anyway, the next ship I got was a fucking tramp, dirty, disgusting old ship. Didn't get on very well on it, but yeah, I didn't get into trouble on that one. But anyway, eventually I got back, and I worked on the like a ferry going from the St Magnus, it was called, or was it? No, either St Magnus or the St Ninian. Yeah, camera went off then. I think it might be due to the cold. There's plenty of battery on it. Yeah, I was on this ship. I loved it. Going from Leith in Scotland, Aberdeen, based in Aberdeen, which was handy because that's where my mum lived, or near there, and Orkney Islands and Shetland Islands. Oh, I loved that ship. I was on that for a couple of years. This used to just be a ferry, take the local people back to the island, and we used to have cattle on board, and you know, my job was to look after the cattle and the sheep and everything that came. I love that. Yeah, and after that I just went from silly old ship to silly old ship, and I didn't get a proper career. And I was there for about 8 years altogether, 8-9 years, on and off, because as you know I used to get into a bit of bother, mainly through drink. And that's why when people say, where have you been in the merchant navy? I don't know where I've been. Been all over the bloody world, but only to the nearest pub, which is what most seamen do actually, just head for the nearest pub. What was I going to tell? Oh yeah, this Beatle haircut I had on the Queen Elizabeth. And honestly, that ship was absolutely amazing. It's like a palace inside. It was vast. You don't, when you see pictures of it, photographs of Queen Elizabeth, the old Queen Elizabeth, you just don't realise what you're looking at. Absolutely magnificent. And the engines, oh my God. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, the Beatles haircut. I went to, it was time of the Beatles, and I went to the to New York one day, and there was a Beatles show on. Can't remember if it was a film or if the Beatles were actually there, but I think they probably were, because there was loads of Beatles fans outside, and loads of Rolling Stone fans there as well, and they were having a go at the Beatles fans. It was girls, mostly girls. Fucking hell, they can be troublesome, can't they? Yeah, so anyway, I met a few girls that trip because of my Beatles haircut, which maybe that's the reason I was so adamant I wasn't going to have a haircut. Ridiculous, isn't it? If only I knew then what I know now about life. People, they used to say to me, why won't you get a haircut? I said, I don't want to get my haircut. I didn't know why. I just didn't want to. I just didn't like being told. But if I just knew now, if I knew then what I know now about life, of course I would have got my hair cut. But you know, I was 16. You don't tell a 16-year-old to get his Beatles haircut cut. Let's go and have a look at the Sportster in our shed. There she is. She should be out on the road. We should be riding around, but it's bloody freezing. Snowed last night a little bit. I like my bikes. They keep me going. Yeah, so there we are. I've got to take all this what I've cut down to Trish's house for her. I've cut some up for myself. I've got a few logs still on my ground, the ones that I bought. I can't afford to buy any more logs this year. People think I'm rich. Oh, you got 3 bloody motorbikes, John. Yeah, that's why I'm not rich. But I'm happy. Yeah, so this is quite big bits. I'll take that down because Trisha's fireplace is enormous. Like an old, old-fashioned ingle nook. Her house, the cottage down the garden, just down through that gate there, was dated back to 1640. That's several hundred years ago. Anyway, I better get on. I've chatted enough. I've got to go to the shop still to get cat food, some bread and stuff like that. And then I'll get my fire lit. I'll make myself a nice dinner. And I'll just sit indoors for the rest of the evening. I'll upload this. And I'll watch a bit of YouTube. I don't hardly ever watch telly these days. I say hardly ever, never. YouTube has taken over my life. Anyway, thanks for looking in. Hope I haven't bored you. You've probably switched off anyway. But if you haven't, I really appreciate that. Look after yourself. See you soon. Bye.